You know, there's a conversation that happens sometimes between friends our age, often with a wink and a nudge. It's a little hushed, maybe a bit embarrassed. We might talk about our grandchildren, our golf game, or that new recipe we tried, but we rarely talk about what it's like to still be intimate, to still be sexually active in this chapter of our lives. And if we do, it's often to joke that the spark has faded or to dismiss it as something that's just not important anymore. But I'm here to tell you something, and I want you to really hear me. It is important. Your desire for connection, for intimacy, for physical pleasure, that doesn't have an expiration date. It's a beautiful, natural part of being human, whether you're 25, 65, or 85. What changes isn't the desire itself, but our bodies, our circumstances, and sometimes the habits we fall into that can quietly get in the way of a fulfilling and healthy sex life. If you're between 65 and 80 and you're still sexually active, that's something to celebrate. It's a sign of vitality. But to keep that vitality burning brightly, there are a few common habits that can, quite simply, ruin the experience. They can turn something that should be joyful into a source of frustration, discomfort, or even worry. Over the course of our chat today, we're going to gently walk through 7 of these habits, not to scold or embarrass you, but to empower you. Because by understanding and adjusting these few things, you can protect your intimate health and ensure this part of your life remains a source of connection and joy for years to come. Now, let's start with a habit that might seem harmless on the surface, but can cast a long shadow over your intimate life. And that's ignoring the messages your body is sending you. When we were younger, our bodies were often more forgiving. We could push through, ignore little aches and pains, and bounce back quickly. But as we get a little wiser, our bodies become these incredible, detailed messengers. They tell us exactly what they need, what they don't need, and when something is wrong. And yet, so many of us, out of a sense of pride or maybe just habit, try to push through during intimacy. We ignore that twinge in our back, that bit of discomfort, or that feeling of being just plain tired, thinking, oh, it'll be fine, or I don't want to disappoint my partner. But here's the truth. Intimacy should never, ever be painful or something you just endure. If there's pain or significant discomfort, that's your body's most important alarm system going off. Pushing through it isn't brave, it's a surefire way to create a negative association with sex, to make you anxious the next time, and it can even lead to a real injury that sidelines you completely. The goal here is pleasure and connection, not endurance. So, what's the alternative? It's about shifting from ignoring to listening. It's about having the courage to say, let's try something different, or my knee is talking to me tonight, how about we just cuddle? That's not a failure, that's intelligent, self-respecting communication. It's about working with your body, not against it. And this leads us directly to the second habit, which is often the root cause of that discomfort. And that's skipping the conversation with your doctor about your sexual health. I can almost hear the thoughts now. Oh, I could never talk to my doctor about that. Believe me, I understand that feeling. It can feel private, embarrassing, or maybe you think it's not a real medical issue. But let me ask you this, if you had a persistent ache in your shoulder, you'd mention it, wouldn't you? You'd want to know what's causing it and how to fix it. Well, your sexual health is just as important as the health of your shoulder, your heart, or your mind. Many physical changes that happen as we age can affect our sex lives. For women, menopause can bring about vaginal dryness or thinning tissues, which can make intercourse painful. For men, it might be dealing with erectile dysfunction. These aren't character flaws or signs that your intimate life is over. They are common, treatable medical conditions. Your doctor has heard it all before, I promise you. They are there to help, not to judge. There are so many safe and effective options available today, from simple lubricants and moisturizers to other medical treatments that can make a world of difference. By not having this conversation, you're struggling with a problem alone that you don't have to. You're denying yourself solutions that could bring back comfort and pleasure. Making that appointment and being honest is one of the most powerful and loving things you can do for yourself and your relationship. It's taking control. And speaking of control, this leads us to the third habit, which is perhaps the most insidious of all, believing the myth that sex has to look a certain way. For decades, maybe our whole lives, we've been fed a very specific idea of what sex is. It's a linear progression, ending in a very specific, goal-oriented way. But that narrow definition can become a cage, especially as our bodies change. If we believe that intimacy is only successful if it follows that old, rigid script, we set ourselves up for frustration and a feeling of inadequacy. The beautiful truth is that intimacy is a vast and wonderful landscape, not a single narrow path. It's about connection, sensation, and pleasure. It's holding each other, talking, kissing, massage, and discovering new ways to bring each other joy that don't rely on the performance of our younger years. The goal isn't a specific outcome. The goal is mutual closeness and feeling good. When you let go of that old, restrictive definition, a whole new world of possibility opens up. It becomes less about what you should be doing and more about what you and your partner enjoy doing. It takes the pressure off, and when the pressure is off, pleasure has so much more room to flourish. Now, we've covered some deeply important ground today, listening to your body, talking to your doctor, and redefining what intimacy means for you. These are foundational shifts that can transform your experience. And there are a few more habits we need to gently unpack together, habits that deal with our mindset and our communication, which we'll continue with in just a little bit. It's quite something, isn't it, when you start to let go of those old rules about what intimacy is supposed to look like. It can feel a little freeing, like finally taking off a jacket that's been too tight for years. And that freedom is so important, because it allows us to focus on what truly matters, the connection, the warmth, the shared pleasure. But sometimes, even with this new, more open mindset, another old habit can creep in, one that can quietly drain the joy right out of the moment. And that's putting far too much pressure on performance. Now, this one is a tricky one, especially for us men who were raised with certain expectations. The idea that we always have to be ready, always have to be the initiator, always have to be the sturdy oak tree, so to speak. But that kind of pressure, that need for everything to work perfectly every single time, is like trying to force a flower to bloom. It just doesn't work that way. It creates anxiety, and anxiety is the absolute opposite of the relaxation and safety we need for intimacy to flourish. You can't feel anxious and truly connected at the same time. The brain simply won't allow it. So, what does this habit look like? It's that mental checklist we sometimes run through. Am I going to be able to perform? What if I can't? What will she think? It's focusing so intently on the destination that you completely miss the beauty of the journey. The touch of a hand, the sound of a laugh, the feeling of closeness, all of it gets drowned out by the noisy worry in your head. The truth is, our bodies are different now. There will be days when you feel like you're 25, and days when you feel every one of your 75 years. And that is perfectly, 100% normal. The key is to stop making intimacy a test that you can pass or fail. It's not a test. It's a shared experience. When you take that performance pressure off the table, you create a space where both you and your partner can relax, be yourselves, and discover what feels good today, in this moment. And that leads us directly to a habit that is the other side of that very same coin. And that's neglecting the incredible power of simply talking to your partner. I know, for many of us, talking about this stuff can feel even more vulnerable than the act itself. We grew up in a time when these things weren't discussed openly. You might worry about hurting your partner's feelings, or feeling embarrassed, or opening a can of worms. But let me tell you, silence is where misunderstandings grow. Silence is where assumptions fester. If you're feeling pressure to perform, and you're not talking about it, your partner might misinterpret your anxiety as a lack of desire for them. If you're experiencing some discomfort and you just try to hide it, your partner might feel that they're doing something wrong. We get into our own heads, spinning stories that are almost always worse than the reality. The simplest, and yet most profound, solution is to open a gentle, kind conversation. And it doesn't have to be a big, serious we need to talk moment. It can start with a simple, I love being close to you, but sometimes I get a little in my head about it, or I've noticed that this feels different than it used to, and I'd love to find new ways that feel good for both of us. This isn't a complaint, it's an invitation. It's an invitation to be a team again, to explore this new landscape of your relationship together. It's about sharing your wants, your concerns, and your curiosities. When you break that silence, you often find that your partner has been feeling some of the same things, having some of the same thoughts. You're not alone in this. Talking it through is how you move from being two individuals struggling separately to a connected couple navigating this chapter of life, hand in hand. And this idea of connection brings us to a habit that is so easy to fall into, especially when life has settled into a comfortable rhythm. It's the habit of letting intimacy become a routine, something you do on a schedule, in the same way, almost like clockwork. Now, there's a certain comfort in routine, I won't deny that. But when it comes to physical intimacy, too much predictability can quietly extinguish the spark. Think about it. If you always have dinner at exactly 6 p.m. and always have the same meatloaf every Tuesday, it becomes just dinner. There's no anticipation, no little thrill of the unknown. It's the same with intimacy. If it always happens on a Saturday night, with the lights off, in the same position, it can start to feel less like a passionate connection and more like another item on the to-do list. The spirit of intimacy is playfulness. It's curiosity. And that doesn't mean you have to do anything wild or outside your comfort zone if you don't want to. Spicing things up can be the simplest of changes. It could be stealing a kiss in the kitchen in the middle of the afternoon, just because. It could be holding hands and talking about a wonderful memory you shared before you even turn out the light. It could be using a different kind of massage oil or putting on some soft music you both loved when you were first dating. It's about introducing a small element of surprise, of novelty, to wake up your senses and remind you both that this is a choice you're actively making to connect, not just a habit you're falling into. It's about remembering the why behind the action, the love, the history, the deep friendship, and letting that spirit infuse the moment with new life. We've now walked through some habits that live in our minds and our communication. And there are just a couple more we need to gently explore, habits that are about our overall well-being and how they directly impact this beautiful part of our lives, which we'll turn to next. And that spirit of playfulness, of breaking out of the routine, is so vital. It reminds us that this is about joy. It's about rediscovering each other, not just going through the motions. And when we bring that intention to our intimate lives, it naturally makes us want to take care of ourselves, to feel our best. But sometimes, we can overlook how deeply connected our overall well-being is to our intimate well-being. There are two final habits that, if we're not careful, can act like anchors, holding us back from the vibrant intimacy we deserve. The first of these is ignoring the profound impact of lifestyle choices. Now, I'm not here to lecture you about your diet or tell you have to run a marathon. But it's a simple, biological fact that what we put into our bodies and how we move them directly fuels, or hinders, every aspect of our health, including our sexual health. Think of your body as a beautiful, classic car. You wouldn't put low-grade fuel in a prized vintage automobile and expect it to run smoothly, would you? Well, our bodies are the same. When we consistently choose foods that are high in sugar and processed ingredients, it can lead to inflammation, sluggish blood flow, and low energy, all of which are silent enemies of a healthy sex drive and function. Similarly, that evening cocktail or two might help you relax, but alcohol is a depressant. It can numb sensation, make you sleepy, and for men, it can directly interfere with the ability to get an erection. It's not about never enjoying a glass of wine with dinner, but about being mindful of the timing and the amount, especially when you're hoping for some intimate time later. And then there's movement. You don't need to lift weights or take up jogging. But a simple, daily walk? That is a powerhouse habit. It gets your heart pumping, which improves circulation to all the parts of your body. It boosts your mood and energy levels. It helps you sleep better at night. It's one of the most effective, gentle things you can do to keep the whole system, including your intimate life, running smoothly. It's not about a punishing regimen, it's about making small, consistent choices that tell your body, I care for you, and I want you to feel good. And that leads us to the very last habit, and in many ways, it's the one that underpins all the others. It's the habit of forgetting your worth. After a certain age, the world can sometimes send us a message that we are no longer desirable. The media, with its focus on youth, can make us feel invisible. We might look in the mirror and only see the wrinkles, the gray hair, the changes in our body. We might carry grief, or past hurts, or insecurities that whisper we are not enough. And if we internalize that, if we start to believe that our value as a sensual, desirable person has expired, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. That belief is a heavy blanket that smothers any spark of desire before it can even catch. So, I want you to do something for me. I want you to take a moment and truly think about everything your body has done for you. It has carried you through a lifetime. It has loved, created, worked, healed, and held others. Those laugh lines around your eyes? They are a map of a life filled with joy. The strength in your hands? A testament to all you've built and held. Your body is not a broken down version of its younger self. It is the archive of your entire story. And that makes it profoundly beautiful and worthy of love, worthy of pleasure, worthy of touch. When you can look at yourself with that kindness and respect, it changes everything. It gives you the confidence to listen to your body, to talk to your doctor, to communicate with your partner, to let go of performance pressure, and to infuse your life with playfulness. It all starts with recognizing your own inherent worth. So, as we bring our conversation to a close, let's just gently recap the ground we've covered. We talked about the importance of listening to your body's messages instead of ignoring them. We discussed the power of having that frank conversation with your doctor. We explored letting go of that old, rigid definition of sex and embracing a broader, more fulfilling idea of intimacy. We looked at the freedom that comes from releasing performance pressure and the connection that blossoms when we break the silence with our partner. We remembered the joy of breaking out of routine and adding a dash of playfulness. And finally, we touched on how our daily lifestyle choices fuel our intimate lives, and how it all rests on the foundational belief in our own enduring worth. These aren't rules. They are invitations. Invitations to be kinder to yourself, to be more open with your partner, and to claim the joy and connection that is your birthright at any age. I would love to hear about your own experiences. What has helped you keep the spark alive in your relationship? What small change have you made that's made a big difference? Your wisdom might be exactly what another viewer needs to hear, so please, share your thoughts in the comments below. If this conversation has been helpful, if it's given you a new perspective or a bit of hope, please do give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more chats like this. We're all in this together, navigating this beautiful, complicated, and wonderful journey of life. Remember, your story isn't over. This chapter can be filled with as much connection, warmth, and joy as you choose to allow. Here's to living your best life and loving your best life at any age. Take care of yourselves.